Welcome to your local community education podcast, where you can make a difference and be heard. Each week, get updated on current local, state, and national educational news. Your Voice, Your Choice podcast with your host, Harmony Vanderhorst.
Welcome to the show. Today, we have our hosts are
Erica Hodges,
Dana McCabe,
and Lindsay Davis.
And we want to welcome everybody out. Our victory minute for today is in one of our schools in Hurricane Middle School. We were able to fill a much needed paraprofessional job and it was with association with the members who were on their community council. So in a community council is one way that parents and community members can be involved in their school. You get to learn about SITLA money and extra grant money your school's receiving, and you get to give your input, but they also talk about needs in the school, and that was one of the needs we talked about in this community council meeting. And with the people that were there, we were able to, in the last few weeks, fill one of those jobs. So that was awesome because right now we have, as of this morning, we have 75 open positions in Washington County. So those are really important, but we did fill one of them, and that was a big deal for that school. The agenda for today is we're going to go over local, state, national education. And instead of our deep dive, we are actually going to be calling one of our local school board members, Dave Stirland. He is in the Hurricane District, and we're going to interview him so you guys can get to know him a little bit better. We'll talk about community needs and what's wonderful in Southern Utah. First, we're going to go through our local school board stuff. We actually have a meeting coming up this week. It's on Tuesday. We would like, if you've never been to a meeting before, to show up at 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, we'll have some parents there, people who have been to meetings. If you have any questions about the format, this is a great time to come, get to know people. If you have any questions, are we going to meet at 4? Are we going to meet at the Washington County School Board office, or are we going to meet over at the bakery?
I think we should meet at the bakery.
Okay, is that where we want to do it?
That way people can have a seat if they're waiting.
Public comment starts at 4:30, right?
Public comment starts at 4:30. So if we go...
No, the meeting starts at 4:30.
But you need to turn in your request to speak.
By
4:30.
Okay.
So if you're not there by 4:30, you can't. So let's do this. We'll meet over at the bakery. We're going to leave a couple people at the work meeting, just so in case they cover some stuff in that last 30 minutes, we'll have a couple people there, and then we'll have a couple people over at the bakery to answer any questions. It's just a good location. It's a good location to meet at. If you park at the Washington County School District office, the bakery is just like right across the street.
Farmstead.
Yes. So, and I learned something this week too. We'll put a link to this. The agenda came out on Tuesday this week.
Yes.
Okay. You can get on. Utah State has a public forums. It's like a website, and you can go and put your email in and put your name in, and then they will email you as soon as the agenda comes out. And I just learned that this week, so I signed up today so that I don't have to keep texting all of my girls here and ask if the agenda came out.
Yeah, you just become as a subscriber.
And I've actually done that for my city council meetings, and so I always look and see what's on the city council agenda. So you can do the same thing for the local school board. So the agenda is out. And with this meeting, so how the format works for this meeting, they technically start at 1 o'clock with a closed session. So usually they open it up with their work session around 2:30-ish, depending on how many things they have to discuss. They'll go over in this work session, they have a few things on there, and then they go to an open discussion of the board. And then they go to review. During these meetings is when we actually see the board members interact with each other. We get a lot of information. We cannot comment, but you can come. Anyone can come and listen to these meetings as well. It's a really long day, and so we understand that not everyone can do that. If you can, it's a really good time to learn.
It's super informative.
And you can also, sometimes it's good to go to these work meetings because you can base your questions during the public forum off of what they have just barely discussed. So it's really relevant information.
And then that's how you find out, how did they come up with that? Who decided on that?
Yeah, which board member brought that to light, or who's supporting it and who's not? Where
was the discussion? How did that happen?
Yes, you can usually tell in these work meetings. They're very informative. And there's a couple things that they're going to talk about that we're curious to see how they goes. They have another grandma request. It doesn't say on here what the grandma request is, so that means someone is asking for records and information from the school board, and they will talk about what that was. That's actually how the book issues came to light, was from a grandma request, and then they, I guess, revealed whatever the grandma request was during these work meetings, and they present it. Someone from the school district who's an expert in the area will come, and they will present the information to the board. So we're interested to see what's going to go on in that. The other things, there was 2 other things that we wanted to see on there. We would have liked to seen them say something about the social emotional learning in the Second Step program. That's not anywhere on the agenda. We would have liked to see them give, response. We've been waiting for a letter from our school board to the state school board addressing the national school board and their comments they made against parents. And
these are the board associations, so not the elected officials, but the
Appointed.
Utah State Board Association. So a little bit different than the school board.
And what's crazy to me is that neither one of those items are on there, and there's such huge issues in the state, around the country.
We're watching them all
Hot
over the
topics.
place. When we watch, so we pay attention to a lot of other school boards, what's going on. We watch the state school boards. We watch other school boards that are on YouTube. We all take turns, finding what's going on, and ours does not have those on the agenda. So one way that we can address that as parents and community members is during the open comment section. If you don't have a comment, or you would like to help and want us to write you one, we would like to have parents and community members come and just say, hey, we're interested. We want to know why this wasn't on the agenda. We would like this topic addressed. And what happens is the newspapers there, this part of the meeting is recorded. It's on file for people to come and see. So the school board has to report and respond to these questions that parents ask in these open public forums.
And if you do have a question, just be aware that you can't go past 3 minutes. You don't have to use the whole 3 minutes, but they will cut you off. So 3 minutes or less.
So this is just a good time to take advantage of that. Was there anything else that I missed?
In their work session, I did notice that they are going to be the library book review committee is going to talk about their findings.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know who is on that committee, probably the administration, superintendent, and maybe some of the librarians. I'm not sure if they've brought them in yet for that, but they will be reporting on that, and I'm eager to know what their decisions are.
I know you wanted to help them with it. You offered.
I was not invited to that. They said that
I know you offered to help, though.
I did offer to help, and they said they have parents already on those committees. I don't know who.
Yeah, we don't know the vetting process for that, right? We haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Right.
We will.
But we are still eager to help. So if anybody from the district's watching, just reach out.
Or any parents that are on that committee. Please reach out.
Yeah, please reach out to us and let us know how you got on there. The other thing I've told parents too who've come to me and asked me that if this is true, I said, well, go to your school and get this book. You can get these. What's it called? The Laverne in the library?
Laverna in the library.
Laverne in the library. Yeah, she has all kinds of lists, and you can take those lists to your library and see. Out of watching all the stuff in the state go on, honestly, in Southern Utah, I have been pretty happy with our libraries down here. I mean, compared to some of the drama in the other school districts, ours have been our librarians must be pretty good. So I have been happy. But I am curious to see how that review does go. And that was another thing that we were hoping to see on the agenda, was kind of an update on what our district is doing and what they're going to do going forward with these books. So we're curious to see how that goes. And that's all I have for local stuff. Lindsay, you want to do state stuff?
Okay, so like Erica mentioned last week, 3 of our state school board committees had meetings on December 3rd. I only had the chance to listen to the Standards and Assessment Committee meeting. That's where they discussed the gender identity guidance letter. The school board started the meeting off with 7 public comments. And in a state with 3.2 million people, I found that extremely low. I even tried to make a comment and they said they were already full. So 7 people. I thought that was a little strange, but
especially when it's something so important to address.
Exactly.
So could you have emailed in? Did they read any emails, or was there another way you could comment? No, that was it.
Yep.
Okay.
All of the parents that spoke had concerns with the guidance letter. One parent's concerns were with the language the committee was using. She believes they're deciding what fits their selectively defined equity narrative and not using the proper terms like gender dysphoria simply because they don't like the sound of it. And another parent asked the committee if they are really going to give our children the environment in which the opposite sex can act out some of their unhealthy sexual beliefs. For example, all a boy would need to do is say he identifies as a girl, and he's then allowed to watch girls undress in the locker room, because they're not going to, in the guidance letter, they are not putting in there that they need anything signed from a licensed professional, nothing.
They just have to
make a request.
They just make a request that I identify. And do parents have to sign that request, or they just do it between students and the counselors or the school staff?
I think they go to the counselor first, and then they bring in parents and things. They want parents to be involved too. They kept going back and forth on those kinds of things. They ultimately ended up deciding that parents should be involved if it's safe. But so that same parent, though, asked the committee, in my opinion, which was the most important question, and that was, what are they going to do to protect our children? And after watching the 4.5-hour meeting, the only answer I got was that if a child using the facilities that coincide with their biological gender feels uncomfortable, they would then need to ask for special accommodations. And after
if they know a transgender student is there, then they can ask for.
Then they can ask for.
They would have to leave.
Yeah, they would have to leave.
Yes.
Okay. So the student that doesn't identify as transgender in a girl, so if she's a girl in a girl's locker room or bathroom, she does not identify as
she's the one that would have to ask.
She's the one that would have to ask for accommodations in another form and get different accommodations.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
And then they moved on to how they want to handle preferred names and pronouns. And when it comes to involving parents, they did run into a snag. The state statute that gives schools discretion on whether or not to inform parents of behavioral issues conflicts with the parental rights statute. So they ultimately decided that parents should be involved. And then when it came to the teachers, the poor teachers, I feel so bad for our teachers, but the committee's legal counsel stated that if a teacher does not honor a student's preferred pronoun, it would indeed be considered discrimination. A committee member then asked if we're throwing our teachers into the lion's den, and the chairman responded with, "This letter can't be aspirational. It needs to be practical. It needs to abide by the law as of today. Its purpose is to keep our teachers and our schools out of legal trouble." He said nothing about any of the students' safety. It was mainly, legal trouble. That's their main focus right now.
Well, and that's what I've heard a lot of, is that they're interpreting the law and they have to go by if they can win it in court. And the thing I thought was interesting, the quote, it says, "Under the current administration's interpretation of the law, a school cannot guarantee the privacy of students in gender-assigned restrooms, locker rooms, changing rooms, or hotel rooms."
Yes.
Under how they interpret the law, they can't guarantee privacy.
So we need some different bills passed that clarify the law a little more.
There was a board member that asked, are we going to notify parents that we can't guarantee their children's privacy? And I think she was talking along the lines as the transgender children, but I think it applies to all of our children. And all of them agreed that, yes, they would have to tell parents that they can't guarantee their privacy.
Wow.
But it seems as though they now have an outline and will pass it on to their staff to draw up the actual guidance letter. And they did make it clear that it's going to be a long process. This isn't a finalized thing. And they also wanted to make it clear that this is just guidance, not policy. They're going to send it on to LEAs, so our districts, and have them create their own policy. So if we do have concerns, if parents out there have concerns, they need to go to our board and come to our meetings and start voicing their opinions.
Probably
to our
commenting in the open comment section at the board meeting. Say, hey, what's going on with this?
I'd imagine there's going to be some legal challenges to a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, I would think so too.
Yeah, I guess I think that they're kind of getting lost in the whole thing of the transgender children's discrimination and almost kind of discriminating against the other kids. I feel like it could go both ways at this point.
So trying to figure out where the middle ground is.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead, Dana.
Okay, on to the national level. I hate to beat a dead horse, but this thing is heating up with the National School Board Association and the White House. The plot is thickening. So since we met last week, or had our show last week, Jim Jordan, who's a ranking member in Congress, is requesting a subpoena for the Justice Department. He also wants to include that for the National School Board Association President, Ms. Garcia, Attorney General Merrick Garland, FBI Director Christopher Wray, and the Secretary of Education, Mr. Cordona. So as you can see, these people are in the highest positions in our federal government. So it's really critical, and it's time-sensitive information. So I just going to look at my notes here to make sure I get these dates right to go over it, because a lot of things happened in 5 days. So on September 29th is when the letter was issued to the Biden administration. Basically, they wanted to use the Patriot Act to go after moms and dads who are attending school board meetings that were speaking out against CRT, calling them domestic terrorists. On October 1st, which was 2 days later, the NSBA, National School Board Association, Ms. Garcia was appointed to the board, which former Governor Herbert was just appointed to. We talked about that last week, the board that oversees the National Assessment of Educational Progress. And so that was interesting. Then 2 days after that, the Assistant Director of the Counterterrorism of the FBI, Timothy Langan, was having conversations with the Department of Justice on how to implement a memo. The crazy part is the memo hadn't been written. So there was a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, and the only reason we found out about all of this was there was a FOIA request, which stands for a Freedom of Information Act's request.
So it's pretty much the same as a grandma request,
Pretty
right?
much the same,
okay.
Yes.
Just on a federal level?
On a federal level. And so then they found out.
So can we do that?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
So what we learned is that the assistant director had also sent an email to special FBI agents to designate parents with a threat tag. That infamous memo was written after the assistant director had a conversation with the Department of Justice, and then the memo was written and sent to all 94 judicial districts around the country, basically dedicating a snitch line to report moms and dads who showed up at school board meetings to speak out against the critical race theory. So all this happened in 5 days. I don't know how familiar you guys are with government. Nothing happens
in
5 days. Yeah. But what's more important to ask, and this is what Jim Jordan was talking about in the hearings last week, was what's more important, what was going on prior to September 29th, because the NSBA president admitted that they were coordinating with the White House for several weeks prior. So what were they talking about? What were those conversations about? So that is why the subpoenas are being requested.
We're still finding that information out right now.
Still finding it out right now.
Okay.
And it's heating up because the ranking members requesting the subpoenas, they have not heard back from Jerry Nadler, who's heading up that committee, who is a Democrat. So the question herein lies, did they want to go after parents? So then they had the NSBA write the letter. People are correlating that kind of like what happened with the dossier spying on presidential elections. But this is definitely stuff that they need to get to the bottom of. What were they talking about? Because the letter, they were talking about it, and then the letter came out. And then the FBI was talking about it, but about a memo that hadn't been written. So I think it's really important. I hope he gets the subpoenas for all of them to come back before Congress. Another thing is, back to the Utah State School Board Association and our state board about the letter to the NSBA. Board member, I believe it's Randy Booth, stated that the NSBA does great things, and although they were out of bounds, out to lunch, that was kind of the words he used, that it's almost like he doesn't want to rock the boat, because we have Herbert sitting on a board there, and then we have Christy Sweat, who is a school board member up in Salt Lake City, that he said that she's going to be appointed president in January. From everything that I could find, I could not find that. But however, she does sit as the secretary treasurer. So I'm just really disheartened that when you get all this information, you hear what's going on, that our local school board hasn't really said anything that we're aware of, not forcefully. Our state school board, meanwhile, 26, 27 other states have issued strong letters. They've pulled over $1 million.
Utah still hasn't done anything.
No.
So our state board of education, the elected board, member Earl has written a letter, and I think she said 5 others had signed it.
Oh yeah, I remember her reading that.
And they tried to get that in the meeting, and they wouldn't adopt it. But yeah,
it was hopeful that there are people on the board who want to address that. But as far as the Utah State Board Association, which is not the elected one, they haven't addressed it.
That's
more
correct.
than saying,
because the USBE is not a member, but the USBA is a member. Of the National School Board Association.
Bring it local. Why this even matters is our school board does training with the NSBA, so they have retreats and board
association with them.
And
right.
Hey, for sake of time, let's call Dave real fast. We are going to get into this more in another. We're going to do a deep dive, so we're going to call Dave real quick. He's one of our local school board members.
And why you call him? It does matter.
It does.
The president, the DOJ,
all matters.
The DOJ, Secretary of Education. So.
Hello.
Hey, Dave. This is Harmony. We're live on the air. How are you?
Hello, Harmony. I'm wonderful. How are you?
Good. Hey, we just have a few minutes with you, and we just wanted to ask you a few questions. We're trying to get our local people here to know our school board members a little bit better. So we just wanted to know, how long have you lived in Southern Utah for?
I have lived in Southern Utah almost all of my life, so almost 6 decades.
He's got a lot of roots here.
8 for sure.
That's awesome. And how long have you, what interested you first in running for school board?
Well, I have 6 children, and every one of them have been involved in public education. I always felt like it's one of the ways I could make a difference, not only in their education, but in the students in Washington County by being able to serve on the school board. It's something I've always been interested in and felt like that there was an opportunity to serve and to give back. So around 7 years ago or so, I was contacted by a couple individuals to see if I had any interest. Very busy with different business pursuits, but I thought I could find some time to do that. So probably that's the best answer, just an opportunity to serve and to see if I could help promote education in Washington County.
That's awesome. And tell me, I know the school board members have different committees they serve over. What are some of the committees that you serve over?
I've been involved with Dixie Tech over the years. Right now I'm with the foundation. So the Washington County School Foundation is one of the committees that I'm involved with.
And what does the foundation do?
The foundation is responsible for generating funds to help the educational process. One of the main things that we do with the foundation board is we help secure classroom grants for teachers to help them in the classrooms, provide funds for the teachers to that they probably don't get otherwise. They'll come up with different ideas that they need that will help them in the classroom. Last year, I think we generated somewhere north of $300,000 that we gave to teachers in Washington County. And this year we'll have similar. We also on the foundation generate money to help Stirland Scholars, which is a program that's been in Washington County for 30 or 40 years, where we give money to graduating seniors to help them in their college pursuits where they want to continue their education in college, so with scholarships and other things. So foundation's a great industry, great people that have helped over the years, and businesses and individuals have been donating to the foundation over the years. Has been remarkable and wonderful in how they've helped promote education and helping individual students. So that's some of the things that the foundation does.
That's awesome. And then our last question we have for you: when parents and community members are concerned with issues that are going on in their schools, what is the best way for them to communicate with their school board members? Or is it to go to their principal first? Is there what's the best way for them to voice their concerns?
Well, it depends on the concern, Harmony. I mean, you're like the poster child of how to do this. I mean, basically get your local board members' email and cell phone, and then you can just text them.
Are you saying you've heard from Harmony a lot?
Wait, you want us to give your cell phone number out?
Harmony's on speed dial. You know what? I mean, it's. I've always felt like, me personally, I've always been what I felt incredibly approachable from the constituents that want to talk to me. My cell phone. If you want to give my cell phone out, I have no problem with that. Each board member has an email address. Try to answer every question. Depends really on what you want. I mean, if it's a board issue that needs to go from the board, or if it's a local issue with a principal or a teacher, a coach, an administrator, anybody, I just run up the chain. Usually depends on what you're trying to accomplish. If you have a question about a policy that the district has, obviously that would be a board issue. If you want to talk finances for the district, obviously that's another issue. It's interesting, in the almost 7 years that I've been a board member, people have called me for so many different issues. And again, I try to be available, but frequently those issues can be solved through the local administration, teachers, and others. I have no problem with any issue and do my best to try to answer them the best I can. So the question is, what's the best way to approach a school board member? Obviously, just email, local, the local access people have phones or whatever. I don't know. I mean, that answers your question, but
nope, that was great.
Personally, I just feel like I need to be available for anybody who wants to talk or has an issue with school or education.
And Dave's cell number is just kidding.
You can actually get his email on the website.
Right.
We won't give your cell phone out today. Maybe tomorrow. Maybe we will tomorrow, though.
That's probably fair. I could always give your cell phone out too.
That's true. Hey, thank you so much for letting us talk to you. We appreciate your time.
You're so welcome.
Thanks
for calling.
Thank you. Have a great day.
And by the way, just for your listeners, we will have a community meeting this next Monday at Hurricane High School for constituents that have students in the Hurricane, LaBerque, and Toquerville area. That meeting will be held at 6:00 at Hurricane High School, and I invite any parent, any concerned citizen that wants to be a part of that. We'll have principals from all the different schools in the Hurricane Cone site. They can answer any questions. We'll have a couple of board members. We will have district administration also there. So if anybody has any questions and they want to be a part of that conversation, we'd love to have you there. And it'll be a little less formal than, say, a board meeting. So if anybody wants to come and ask questions, I would kind of counsel to not countywide, but we kind of restrict that to parents that have students in the hurricane cone site.
Since there's going to be board members there, will they do that at other locations for other districts?
They are asked to do that.
Perfect.
And I think over the course of the year, most of the board members do that. I mean, I'm certainly not going to go to the Snow Canyon cone site to answer questions about what's going on there, other than just general district questions. But we want to make it accessible for parents in our area to be a part of that. I think I get a little concerned because I don't want a flood of St. George people coming there because we've got a couple board members. We'd prefer to have constituents from the different areas go to those community meetings where they're held in those cone sites.
And that's again the Monday the 13th, 6:00 at Hurricane High School.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's K through 12, like any students in those grades.
I'll have principals from the hurricane schools, elementary, middle, intermediate, and high school will be there. I mean, it's real, like I say, informal gathering where parents can, I'm going to ask the principals to kind of give us a state of their school address and tell what's going on there, and then we'll open it up for questions. And I try to have them yearly, and this is the one we're going to have in December, and if we need to, we'll have another one.
Awesome. That's wonderful. We'll get that message out there too, and we'll advertise that to the hurricane.
Yeah, it's going to be emailed. It's going to be emailed to every household of every student in the hurricane cone site. Just
okay.
So you know.
And so should they watch for that email in the next day or so?
Yeah, I think I don't know if it was sent today or yesterday, and we try not to do too far in advance because people forget. But
yeah,
it should be sent from the district to each household. So
okay, perfect. We'll watch for that.
There you go.
Okay.
You ladies have a great day. Thank you much. Thanks for calling.
Thanks, you
Dave.
So much. Thanks, Dave.
All right.
We'll see you. Bye.
Bye.
See ya.
And that was Dave Stirland from the Hurricane District. So that will be kind of like a town hall type of meeting. And I would definitely encourage anyone in those areas to come. If there are board members are going to put forth effort to organize meetings like that, we should definitely come and show our support.
Hey, and if they don't want people to go from St. George, then let's have some in St. George.
I know. Usually you don't have to
Terry.
push people though to drive to Hurricane because it's so far away.
Right.
It's out in the middle of nowhere. And then we are going to end our show with what's great in Southern Utah. Does anybody have a shout out?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
So yesterday I went to Las Vegas for the Cowboy Christmas and the rodeo.
NFR?
Yeah, NFR. Total blast. But what I will say is it was fun to go, but it was really fun to come back. At those two events, great community. But as a whole, just being out and about, shopping in Vegas and stuff, the social mood of St. George, it's hard to beat the social mood we have here. It's just upbeat.
It's
People
awesome.
are happy.
I agree.
I
agree.
Awesome.
I'm just glad that we're having a town hall with the school board meeting member, and I think that's a great step forward.
I know. I feel like that's
Awesome.
I feel like that's a victory too. I feel like we've really tried to advocate to support our board members and our community members to get their voices heard, and I think this is a step in the right direction.
And
definitely for Southern
Even
Utah.
though maybe they've been doing it, you've probably been helpful in requesting that from the board.
And too, because of COVID, it made everything a little weird, and they haven't had them for a while. So I think this is great. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is what we kind of wanted. So yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
And if you guys have not figured out who your district person is, who your representative is, that's definitely your homework that you need to work on this week before Monday. Let's do your call to actions are you need to find out your district representative. If you know yours, you need to tell your neighbor so that your neighbor knows too. Another call to action that I would have for you is you need to get registered to vote, because you can't do anything and you can't really help us if in this next year during the elections, and that's how people change, is if you're registered to vote, you can make a difference.
And because I like to beat a dead horse, Tuesday, December 14th, 4 o'clock, Farmstead or Washington County School District. We'd love to meet you in person. We'd love for you to meet the board and get your questions answered, or just to observe, to see what actually happens at a school board meeting and meet other parents that are really interested in our children's education in our community. So December 14th, call to action.
And the other thing, too, is we are going to try to extend our committee. We are looking for some other people to help. We are also associated with the Utah Parents United. So if you guys are not registered with the Utah Parents United, you need to get on their website and get registered with them. And then you also need to sign up for the Mobilize app. We are learning some more communication capabilities through that app, and there is a lot of really great tools they have on there, but you've got to be registered with them in order to do that. And so we are going to shortly here need someone to help with the website, with some social media stuff. We're all moms with kids and we all volunteer our time. And so we could use some more help. And so we're looking for some people who want to do that.
It's helping us, but it's helping yourself for the community you live in and for your kids. And if everybody together, we can do a lot. Alone, we're not very successful.
Yeah. Anything else we wanted, girls, before we go?
Do we have another guest lined up?
We do. We're actually, next week, we're going to have Terry Hutchinson. I always say it wrong. Next week, we're going to have Terry Hutchinson, and he is from one of the St. George, Washington Fields area. Which one is it?
Yeah, because
he's another district. He's not my representative, but he's going to be here next week. Same, and we're going to have him call.
And he does the radio sometimes, so he ought to be a good guest. Yes,
and so he's like professional radio guy, and he is one of the newer board members that we have. He's probably, I think, one of the newest. He's only has he served a term, or is this? I don't think
we'll find out next week.
Yeah, we can ask him exactly how long he's been on the school board.
And he's very responsive. He gets back to you when you email him.
He does.
Takes phone calls.
So we'll have him next week. And then our 2 shows over Christmas, what we're going to do is we were going to do it this week, but we're going to call it Story Hour. We're going to tell you guys our story, how we got involved. So we'll have that over Christmas. And then the other show that we're going to pre-record is we're going to go into all the NSBA and the USBA and the USBE and the
UPU.
All these different groups, and talk about which ones are elected, which ones are appointed, which ones actually make the rules, which ones vote on them and just do the recommending. And so we're going to kind of try to clarify that a little bit so you guys can figure that out. Thank you for listening today, and have a great week.
You've been listening to Your Voice, Your Choice podcast with Harmony Vanderhorst. Like and follow our Facebook page, subscribe with your favorite podcast platform, and most importantly, share this with your friends. Till next time, this has been Your Voice, Your Choice podcast with Harmony Vanderhorst. This has been a production from A Podcast Studio.